Welcome, everyone, to May 6th, 2025. So, today we're going to look at the gallbladder and some of the ramifications of what occurs in the gallbladder meridian, its consciousness. So, it has a lot of different qualities. We're going to focus on today speaking up. So, one of the things the gallbladder does is breaks down fat. So, if you eat fatty food, and your gallbladder has a little bit of problem, you're going to get some digestive issues, flatulence, bloating, you could get cramping, you could get pain, that kind of thing. So what we want to do is allow that gallbladder to be refined enough to make appropriate decisions, because it is the decision maker, and it does run down the side of the body, all the way down around the ankle through the foot. And you can often find out if you have, let's say somebody says, oh, my ankle is really hurting me. Very often you could look at that person. It's not the greatest way to diagnose, but if they have a hurting ankle, you can kind of look, do you have some decisions you need to make? I can guarantee you, like 99% of the time, they're going to say, yes, I have these massive decisions I need to make. Then also people who lose the gallbladder become very indecisive. So this work also helps those with no gallbladder, where we can form the energy system of the gallbladder so that decision-making process, digestive process, etc., comes to the forefront. There's also some depression that can come from the malfunctioning of the gallbladder or the meridian itself. And we need to have some anger, because gallbladder operates with the energy of anger, moving through so that we can make those decisions, we can catalyze ourselves into action, and we can also break down the fats that come into the body. So gallbladder loves good fats, loves omega-3, loves avocados, sardines, right? It just loves that kind of fat. But when it comes to fried food and that kind of thing, the gallbladder goes, I don't feel so good. I'm not so crazy about it. So obviously it has a lot of functions. And today, the focus that we chose was speaking up. So what you're going to do to help yourself through this is think about how speaking up for you, this is a might, it is not a guarantee, but most of us have a little issue in this domain, is speaking up and the pathology involved in speaking up. So the group here that worked with me, we all realized that a lot of our speaking up is a manipulation. We try to manipulate ourselves and the other person, whether it's to listen to the other person, to communicate something we need to the other person. So there's nothing wrong with those things, only when it becomes a manipulation. So we started to look at, what is my real goal when it comes to communicating? So there's a beautiful woman who comes on here. I adore this person. And she was talking about her communication. And I thought, no, your communication, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but intuitively I went, you're all about love, loving your family. Yeah, sure, there are a lot of pathologies in there, but it's all about love. I feel loved when I talk to this person. I feel, and when this person talks to other people, I also feel all the love that she has for the other person. That doesn't mean she doesn't have moments of resentment. Resentment is part of the liver gallbladder. It's when we keep resending the same emotions. So the same emotion, which is anger. And how do we resend that same emotion? Well, I did this for you. Even if it was out of love, I did this for you. But now you're taking advantage of me and I'm feeling resentful towards that. That's, obviously human nature, but we need to move out of resentment, not a great thing. So those of you who've read the story of Cain and Abel, we know that Cain was resentful of his brother. When God says you have not done well, and the situation is that Abel brings the food that is of better quality or whatever. We're not, it's very vague as to why God tells Cain that he hasn't done well, but it makes a lot of sense because the moment God says you haven't done well, he starts to go immediately into his resentment. He's resentful. He's pouting. So God says, hey, you've got to get over this. That's your problem. And he ends up not doing it and killing his brother. So these are things we have to get over within ourselves. I know that's a heavy duty story to bring up here, but to me, it's so applicable to our gallbladder. When the gallbladder isn't moving properly, we feel sluggish, we feel depressed, the digestive system isn't working as well. Maybe we've got aches and pains on one side of our body. You get a headache, dizziness, all kinds of stuff that can come up because we're not looking at our communication in the right way, this speaking up. So if I'm speaking up to tell someone what I think of them, doesn't sound so great. But I need to speak up for where I think I end and someone else begins. And of course, we call that boundaries, but I don't like saying setting. I should set my boundaries. And if you've listened to me for a while, you'll understand that you can't set a boundary because you're never the same person. You're never the same energy. You're never the same restedness. So if usually I am open-hearted, you come to me and I'm there for you, and I feed you and I talk to you. But then a week later you show up and I'm like, no, I can't see you. You might go, wow, how could you do this? But the boundary has changed. So one week you're here, you're everything. I've done everything for you. The next week I won't be able to do it. So it doesn't mean that I wouldn't do it in the future. It just means that that's where the boundary is in this particular given moment. So we need to be careful of that because we often say, I need to set boundaries. No, you can't. You can't do that. You'll never know what your boundary is. Even if you find that, oh, today you've got so much energy, you please like 50 people in your family. And then the next day it's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Sure, of course not. You're wiped out or you're tired, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't have done what you were doing. It doesn't mean that. It just means, oh, I need to establish my boundaries and be okay with standing up for myself. And when I say establish my boundary, it's only in that given moment. I shouldn't say establish, actually. That was not correct. I need to respect where my boundary is in any given moment. Okay, respect where my boundary is in any given moment. So speaking up has a lot to do with this. Now, the gallbladder meridian, in that it runs on anger, we can get really angry, when someone steps over the boundary, wherever it is today. And at that point, we don't want to speak up with our anger. We want to be able to communicate properly with ourselves. So it might be a little exploration. It might behoove you to explore, how do you want to communicate? Do you want to experience communication as loving? Do you want to experience communication as respectful? Do you want to experience communication as calm? I've had a lot of points in my lifetime where I wanted to experience communication as very active and dynamic and lots of talking and everyone, blabbing at the same time and very expressive. Now I'm older. It's not so easy to do. I don't want to be doing that. I like some nice, calm listening. And so you change over a lifetime as well. But it's sitting back and figuring out, what do you want to do? As long as you're, in that place where it's for everyone, not just for you. Because if you think you're here to educate someone, you may be resistant to experiencing education for yourself, which is not communication. It is indoctrination, let's say. So now that we've got that going, you can just sit with yourself and you're going to take a nice breath and scan and see, where in your body, after all of this talking that I've done, where are the tensions in your body? It's a nice deep breath. Close your eyes on the exhale. Take another breath in through your nose. and scan your body. And just notice what's going on. So notice where there's tension, static, heat. It can be anything. So I noticed right around the diaphragm that it's a little tighter. I noticed some tingling sensations in my legs and arms. I noticed clarity coming to my eyes, just different things. You're just noticing. And being that I noticed, oh, okay, where I ended up was, yeah, and this is around the gallbladder area, being over here on the right hand side. Like, okay, so there's something communicating my respiration and the gallbladder. Now, yours can be anywhere. It doesn't really matter. I'm just saying, notice it. We're going to start to move any blockages in the gallbladder that have to do with pathology in communication as related to speaking up. We're going to look at resentment, moving some resentment out of the system, and depression. So anger is great as an energy to, I don't mean getting angry or faking anger or, succumbing to anger. I'm talking about the energy that operates movement in the body. So it unblocks the energy. Depression, you could say, is a heart energy in Chinese medicine. And we want to just clear that a little bit. So there is a collective coming in where I don't even know how to put what I'm seeing, but there's definitely the way the world is operating as a collective in the present moment is very different than it did when I was a kid, and very different when my grandmother was a kid. So part of this energy dynamic is the collective shift of the direction we're going into, whether you think of it as computers and us becoming one with artificial intelligence. That's part of it. And being part of this artificial intelligence, we are being, let's say, programmed. You don't have to agree with this. That's not, and you don't have to disagree. We can at least balance those effects that are occurring out there, so we can have some continuity in the happiness of being a natural human being, because there is a huge difference between living in, computer. I know a lot of people, I communicate on WhatsApp, but I don't necessarily initiate too much contact. But boy, do I receive a lot of information on WhatsApp. And I find it very, very difficult. It's small writing, it's crunched up. You've got a lot of people writing at the same time. You keep going in, you have to open things and expand things and do all these things. I find it very difficult on the energy of my body mind. But there are so many people in the world who are, very well adept. I mean, I used to find it difficult in email, but email feels like it's so expansive and it's so much easier to read. And if you get a bigger and bigger screen, the better you do. So this contracting down more and more. Think about it. So right here, I've got a screen the wider than my arm stretching. Right, it's way wider than this. I've got a double screen, so I can see words really well, and it's open. My eyes can see more things. But once I start to contract down to the phone and then to an application and to what's said, we're focusing in like this. It's very, very tiring. It's very limiting. It causes neck problems, head problems, shoulder problems, abdominal problems, right? Look at this posture instead of this openness where we sit back. So our perspective starts to narrow. Now, if there are people who on here don't use any technology, good on you. You're going to be, you don't even understand what I'm talking about. Those of us who use technology and then go into nature, we can feel the difference. When you're walking in nature, looking at flowers and trees and snakes and alligators and iguanas and bees and butterflies and leaves and all kinds of stuff. It's a whole different sensation. You know, we are nature and being out there. So this is what I'm looking at in relationship to the gallbladder and the functioning of our body and what we need to move out of the way. Because there's another little element that comes in here, and that is addiction. So we know that um, technology can be very addictive, and that also is part and parcel of the gallbladder and needing to move the addiction out of the way. All right. So with all of that said, if you've thought of, I haven't yet for myself, so you could be just like me. I'm going to do two things. One is to help you continue to enact what you would like to see when you're having conversation. And then for some of you that are like me, what is it that I really want to bring to the table when I'm communicating with others? You know, what is it that I am trying to share? What is it that my tone, my voice, my energy, my words are trying to communicate with other people? So I haven't quite decided that, or haven't narrowed it down, let's say, but it's something you can think about. I have a few ideas like love and caring and compassion. Um, Compassion is probably the strongest one. And yeah, think about it. We'll see. So tap your head, your heart, and your belly. And we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Enjoy that. And I do hope it's going to help with your digestion, expression, communication, and your family matrices, because all of this needs to be related into the family. All right. Have a great day. Bye.